we continue our course here, and we are very glad to have with us someone who is based in Indonesia and that can give also very interesting perspective on early warning systems, urban resilience, and disaster risk reduction. So, hello, Mr. Alimuddin. Thank you to be with us, Mr.
Sure.
Alimuddin. Mr.
Yes.
Alimuddin is head of Disaster Study Center at Hasanuddin University. So please, can you present yourself a little bit about
Sure.
your background?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Ignacy, all the way there in Spain. Thank you very much for your opportunity. As you mentioned, my name is Dr. Ilham Alimmudin. I'm an associate professor in my Hasanuddin University. Now I'm heading a study center, especially for disaster. So I've been dealing with a lot of disasters in Indonesia, try to do a lot of studies and more on the risk reduction efforts for this. And I'm happy to be in your interview, and I'm glad if I can help for some views about the disaster reduction. Thank you, Dr. Ignacy.
Okay, thank you. So, here we are developing a kind of sharing knowledge with cities around the world, with Indonesia also. And we are looking at risk culture. So,
Okay.
and we would like to know how can we effectively raise awareness, do you think, about among specifically island communities about the risk of flash floods, for example, and considering their specific context of an island?
Okay. First of all, I would like to get you an exposure of how in Indonesia we look at this awareness of risk, of how the community is prepared in terms of facing disaster. Your question is more specific on the island community. Yes, in Indonesia, we have a lot of islands. We have 17,000 islands, but we have bigger islands where we have most of our disasters. As you might have informed that Indonesia is very prone of any kind of disasters from earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanoes. Specifically for islands disasters, we are more on the erosion, beach erosion, abrasion, and more to the extreme weather. We do have floods in some of our bigger islands, but in smaller islands, we don't have that much topography where water really can flow and create floods or flash floods in specific. So how we raise this awareness to our society is really a big homework for us compared to other countries that already been forefront in terms of disaster awareness. We are campaigning the literacy of how our people can be informed that they have to be prepared when disaster comes. And this is our effort of any stakeholders in this of disaster in Indonesia. Us in the university, we train students, we dispatch students sometimes to go to remote islands, to remote areas, so then they can teach and educate the people there about the community, how they face this calamities, how they face this disaster that they are not aware of sometimes that suddenly just happen. But there are also disaster that gradually happen, like abrasion, for example. Some of our coastal areas, coastal cities as well, are facing this abrasion, for example. So people have to be aware how they face, how they react when this kind of disaster happens. That what we are educating them. We go through socialization. We go through by programs, planting or we say it mitigation in terms of structural communities and also some non-structural mitigation on that area. So it's quite a big job actually for us
Okay.
in
Yes.
Indonesia, Ignati. Still,
Okay. Yes.
still
So
we are progressing.
you know that there
Yes.
is this initiatives about early warning systems for
Yeah.
all around the world.
Yeah.
So tell me about your experience, like about low. We talk sometimes about low tech and high tech solutions. You
Yeah.
know that, for
That's
example, in
yeah.
some countries they have very high tech solutions
Yeah.
with satellite image coming from satellites, then
Yeah.
or I don't know, artificial intelligence to detect floodings from
Yeah.
water. But also there are like low-tech solutions. What is your
Yeah.
vision about this? I mean, do you think we need high-tech solution only, low-tech solution only, a mix of both? What is your experience about it?
Yeah. In Indonesia, we have what's so-called local wisdom, Ignasi. So when you know that we have big tsunami in 2004, where Aceh and those areas for the south east tsunami happens, many of our victims can still survive because of this local wisdom, where they transfer they from generation to generations. So when they know then where the tide is that low, that you have to be careful, especially after earthquake, then you have to find higher land, that kind of knowledge. So that pass from generation to generation. So people who lives on these islands that experience tsunami, they have that local wisdom already. But then technology develops, we can start having now tsunami early warning systems in our society. That's specific on tsunami. Now even it's so sophisticated that we even know after an earthquake, then we have to be careful whether it's going to be created tsunami or not, like that. But when it comes to flash floods, for instance, we had a bigger one a couple of years ago in my island. People use we call it kentongan in Indonesia. Kentongan is like what do you call it? It's small. It's not a drum. It's made of bamboo where they hit
Yes.
it. Yes, and this echo is continued to the lower ground. Yeah, like that. So people hear this kentongan. Kentongan is Indonesian word for drumming. So when you hear the sound, then it's kind of a knowledge for local people that there's something coming up from the upper hills, from the upper stream that is coming. So please be careful. That at least can make people prepared to get away from the river, for example. Now, those are local wisdom that still continue for us to run. Although now that's not enough time when it comes to flash floods, right? So now we are also developing some early warning system with using sensor technology, yeah, for us to be aware of. Like earthquake, for example, we already have our geometrical and geophysical meteorological bureau that in our mobile phone, we have the application just similar to Japan. So then we know where the earthquake happened, what's the epicenter, what's the hypocenter is, then whether it can create tsunami, etc. So that already we have in our mobile phone in Indonesia. Although we still have to spread this kind of early warning system to the society because not all people suddenly knows about this technology. So
But
when
there
you
is
ask, yeah,
sorry. So, but people use, for example, mobile phones as a early warning system. There is the authorities are using like alerts on the mobile phone for tsunami or for flash flooding.
yeah,
There is an initiative mm,
creating
uh,
that,
for public administrations. Are public
yeah.
administration using this?
We are
here, for example, here in
yeah,
Europe, you have there was a directive saying that all the countries need early warning systems. So they are implanting or in the States, for example, no, you know that your telephone starts to ring and saying flash flooding in your area without being registered in any database, just for having your phone.
We haven't arrived at that stage, but we are progressing. We are working towards that kind of technology. Now we are able to install in our mobile phones what's so-called like INA-RISC or the meteorological agency but unfortunately this has not arrived until it's automatically can be in their phone without installing it, something like that. Like in Japan, once you have your phone registered, then that will automatically can be alerted when there is earthquake or something. We haven't arrived in there, but there are some areas working on there now. When it comes to flood, some areas already install flood or alert in certain pathways where the intersections of drainage, for instance, when the water level is getting higher, then it will automatically alert the people to be evacuated. Some area already have this kind of installation, but of course, in Indonesia, we have these large areas, not all yet being customized with that alert system. Like that,
so we could say that in Indonesia, the community engagement it's very, very important. No, like
it is
low tech solutions are now in place, are on the way, and maybe we need a combination of low tech and high tech. There is also in some countries they are saying that we don't need all this technology. This technology helps, but what we need is people and people using this technology. So
exactly.
So, what are some? Explain us some of these preventive measures that could be used in Indonesia to face this situation that you don't have like high technology or technology is on the way. Can you explain us some of these preventive measures and the role of the local authorities on it? That you think that Indonesia could implant?
Yeah. So in terms of rules and regulation, in terms of how local government are demanded, authorized to prepare what's so-called document that can show what prone areas in that area must be made. So there should be studies about the areas into document that can be shown in maps. So then people can start socializing, hey, your area are prone for certain disasters, floods, landslides, depending on the geomorphological and geological conditions. So there is a demand of the National Office of Disaster Management to all local areas to start doing this. And with having this, then we can start educating the local community. We call it a campaign of disaster literacy, where all stakeholders that involved in here, local government, commercials, companies, or others can take part of how we can alert people, how we can educate them about the areas. So for example, in my university, I even dispatch what do you call it, final year students to have student community services for them to come to those disaster prone areas to educate the schools, students, how for example, when earthquake happens, when flash flood happens, what they should do, where to evacuate. They start making routes of evacuation, where the assembly areas and that kind of stuff. So these are now becoming massively campaigned by local community, working with universities, working with local government, even armies, police officers. So we are trying to give more preparedness to the community when it comes to crisis. Even sometimes we come to the simulation where students are gathered and then, okay, this is what you need to do, this is what you have to help, that kind of things, and this is what you need to avoid, that kind of thing. So raising the awareness of the community by trying to involve them, yeah, into the action of them as an object, not anymore, but more on they are the role makers, you know, when
Okay.
it comes to disaster, that kind of thing.
And with all this activity, have you identified some like some questions that are not helping, or which are the points that you need to face in order to advance on this activity?
Yeah.
What will be for you the main things that you need to resolve in Indonesia to spread this activity? There are some key
Yeah,
points. Some
I know. Key points that we are addressing sometimes is how the knowledge of the local leaders, you know, headmasters, head of the village, head of districts, that kind of things, whether they're aware of this kind of resilience where the people can get involved with. Sometimes we have resistance from even those leaders because they thought that this is not important. This is I mean I mean wait until the disaster strikes, then they becoming, oh, you're right, this is what we should do, that kind of thing, you know. So trying to put into their heads about this disaster awareness in one thing that we have to face sometimes in the field, you know. Not to mention the local community themselves that we why? Because we need those leaders to let the community knows what we would like to tell them, what we like to teach them. If the community say, come to the gathering area, we're going to teach you about this, how to you know, survive in terms of floods happening, what you need to do, what to bring, etc. That kind of thing. So the resistance actually sometimes come from those local leaders, you know.
okay, I think it's
Not, yeah, that's one point that you need to note down.
I think it's all around the world. These
It
leaders,
is.
even in in other countries, we have the same problem that people just care about disaster when disaster strike,
That's right.
and because it's very difficult to show all the all the losers and all the problems that they will have if they don't take preventive measures. So
Yes.
this is one of key points. There are other key points that you think will be interesting in the future. What do you think about
Yeah.
the future? To finish our
Yeah.
conversation, what you will say in
Uh,
the future? What will be the
yeah.
key points in the future for you?
The key point really, Ignacy, is how we can involve the community engagement. How the community can really get involved with what they need to be prepared of, and how this DRR really comes into implementation, because the community themselves has to understand, because if not, then they always become the victim, and what they need is just waiting for the donations, waiting for the, you know, people give them help, you know. They need to be sustained themselves, you know. And this is what happened to how we can train and educate. We start from just many countries that we can actually already learn from. How Japanese have this drill, every kid knows what to do when earthquake happens, for example. Why we cannot do this kind of things also in our schools, trying to alert the kids that we live in an earthquake areas, for example, or flood can happen every year in the same location without us really us doing something, you know, like they only mitigate of elevating the floors of the house and that's it, waiting for the next flood again, while actually you can start doing with the local government, trying to manage which area can still be built, which one is not. This is part of the campaign that we make in our university, making the map prone areas that they can be references of not to do that. So point of educating, training certain, not only schools actually, but even government employees on the local government areas is actually one thing that we have to approach, Ignacio.
Okay,
I see. Really can
Yes,
make your points.
Yes, thank you very much. That's the last point you said. It's exactly what we are trying to do with this course.
Yes.
Raise awareness about the importance of early warning system of urban resilience. So thank you very much.
It's my pleasure,
Mr. Alimuddin. We will continue our course and we will listen at what you said, and your experience was very good and very interesting for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck with your course, and I hope my interview can at least enrich the knowledge, especially from Indonesian side. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much.
All right.